This week, we were reminded of the dangers journalists face while covering the war in Ukraine. Two journalists working for Fox News were killed on Monday when their vehicle came under fire, and a Russian journalist who held up a protest sign on live TV was detained for 14 hours. But it's the frontline journalists who capture the real human cost of war. We're about to show a graphic photo from New York Times photographer Lindsay Addario. So if you need to turn away, now would be a good time. The picture that you're seeing was one of the first to definitively show Russian forces killing innocent Ukrainians. It's a painful but important reminder of the real horror of this war and others like it. Joining me now is the incredibly brave woman behind that image, MacArthur Foundation Genius Grant recipient and Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times photographer, Lindsay Addario. Lindsay, it is an honor to have you on my show this morning. Thank you for being here with us. I want to discuss the photograph. You witnessed the Russian mortar attack on evacuating civilians. I'm just curious, how do you manage to stay composed enough to even take a photo like that?
I mean, it's hard. It's not to say I'm not crying or sort of breaking inside. I think for me, I've been doing this a very long time, and I've come a long way from the first time I started seeing sites like this where I forgot to take photographs because I was so emotional or so scared. It still happens that I sort of put my safety first, of course, but, I have to tell myself it's very important to take these photographs because the international community and world leaders need to see what's happening on the ground.
It's really important to me for my viewers to know who you are and the personal sacrifices you've made and the enduring battles that you yourself have been put in just to bear witness to history so that our viewers and your readers can see the imagery. So I just want to tell our viewers that you were first kidnapped in Fallujah in Iraq in 2004. You were one of 4 New York Times journalists kidnapped in Libya in 2011, endured horrific treatment there, somehow managed to talk to reason with terrorists who were mistreating you. There was sexual assault in Pakistan. You were involved in an automobile accident while returning to Islamabad. I mean, you have truly embodied what it means to be a journalist and prioritize the story. You're a wife and a mother. How is it that you balance your dedication, which we appreciate as consumers, your dedication to our craft, and manage in that moment that you have a family who's expecting you to come home safely?
Yeah, it's hard. I guess I have to compartmentalize a lot while I'm in the field. I have to really try and stay focused on the moment. I try not to think so much about my children and my husband while I'm in that moment, though it's impossible because, of course, the first thing I think of when I come upon 4 bodies and see the body of a child is my own family and how it would kill me to see that. So it's a combination. I try really hard to stay focused and compartmentalize things, but it's almost impossible. I'm often crying as I'm photographing. But when I get home, it's important for me to process what I've seen. I talk a lot with my husband and my family, not so much my children, but my sisters, my parents, my husband. So it is important for me to process. I do not want to forget what I see because I think I need to pay tribute to the people I photograph. It's really important that I carry them with me where I go because this is why I do this work, so that people can see it and remember it.
And, I think sadly, the deaths that we've seen in the latest round, they're fixers that a lot of our viewers don't really understand the role of a fixer and what they do. Alexandra Casanova was a fixer for Fox News who was one of the victims who passed away in that last horrific attack. Can you explain to our viewers how you get on the ground and get in the middle of that story and find that image and take it? And I think there is something special about being a woman doing that in the middle of combat, oftentimes in hostile territories that are not respectful of women.
So I think there are a lot of different questions in that. I think, first of all, a fixer it's usually a local journalist and generally a local, very respected journalist. And we hire them to help us do our work, to help us find our footing, help guide us on the stories, translate. They're almost like a producer, but they themselves are often very celebrated journalists. And so none of us could do our work without them. That's very important to realize and to pay tribute to them. I think, let's see, what was the second question?
Well,
Sorry.
just how do you get on the ground and you yourself find, the story and get in the middle of it and snap that image?
Well, it's generally a lot of their guidance helping us. I can say I have this idea, and then they say, well, these are the options. So it's really a collaborative process.
Yeah.
But again, we can't really do anything without their help. And so,
Right, absolutely.
Sasha paid with her life for doing this job,
Yeah.
just like Pierre and just like, yeah.
Well, I thank you so much, Lindsay Addario, for your work and for being here with us this Saturday. And we'll definitely have to have you back. And glad to see you safe. Thank you for being here.